Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Way of Creation show. Good afternoon, Jim. We are speaking today about how to be successful in life. So, we're not going to, we're hoping you're going to give us an insight, Jim, and not obviously you have already had quite a lot of success in your life. So, it's great to hear your insight, and it would be great to hear other people's as well. We are live on all our social media platforms. Jim's streaming from TikTok and Instagram at his
Yeah.
end. I'm in the studio here, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we're on LinkedIn.
Called X now.
Well, it is X, but when I look along the top of the screen, it's still got the wee bird, so it's obviously not dated in here yet. But anyway, yeah, we're live on all our platforms. Please keep it
Okay,
interactive and jump in.
let's just qualify what we're about to say here,
Yes.
and I have to make sure we qualify this because this is all about how to be successful in life. Now, there's no way I'm going to ever claim that I am successful in life. The
Okay.
success is a journey; it's not a destination. And
Yeah.
and the classic is what I did was, here's a classic example about if you're, I mean, you take alcoholics.
Hmm.
Classic example about how alcoholics survive is they just stay sober for one more day. So when you're thinking about quitting, because everybody thinks about it at some point in time, no matter where you are right now, think about quitting. Just don't quit for one more day. And and that not quitting for one more day, and then on to the next day, and then the next day will make a difference. Now, I'm not professing to be the smartest person or the best talker, the highest IQ. I'm not the tallest, the strongest, the fastest, or the best looking for any matter of that. But I'm not going to get outworked by anybody. And that's the key here. I'm not going to get outworked by my competition. And I'm going to do one more call, one more text, one more email, one more message than everybody else. You know that.
Yeah.
And that is the difference of between an ordinary person and an extraordinary person, because the person that becomes is ordinary becomes extraordinary is the person that does that extra bit. And when
Yeah.
you're lying there and you're feeling sorry for yourself, that's when your competition is potentially getting out there and doing something. Now, you could be competing against yourself, and that's not normally what you would do. You'd maybe just normally lie there and suffer. But I always believe in if I get up and do something that no one else will do, then I'll achieve something that no one else can achieve. And that's what separates someone from becoming successful and maybe unsuccessful. It's just the person that keeps doing it for one more day and
Yeah.
never quit.
I was going
It's
to say
never
there's
quitting that
quite a
makes the
fine
fundamental
line.
difference.
I was going to say there's quite a fine line between somebody that's unsuccessful and successful because that person has just decided, like you say, to get up and do that extra bit or to pick up the phone and do
Yeah,
that extra call and just all those small extras that make them that wee bit ahead of the other person.
absolutely. It is. I've seen loads and loads of people quitting. And if they just held out for a wee bit longer, it would have made a fundamental difference to where they are right now.
Hmm.
We've seen that all the time, especially in the business that we've run for the last 16, 17 years or so thereabouts. But I've seen it all the way through my career. It's people, I've just seen loads of people have great potential that have never ever made it, only because they just quit. What one of the things about one of the things about not being able to quit is really loving what you do. If you
Yeah.
love what you do, it never really seems like work. And it's not easy to quit that because it's just something that you love doing. So why would you quit it? It's like I'm going to quit what I love doing.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute. If you love doing what you're doing, you would never ever quit it because you love doing it. So that's why. So it's a combination of all these different things. And then when you're faced with an obstacle, it's not about going through it. It's about working out how you could get round it or under it or over it, or possibly um, just dodge and weave all the way
Hmm.
through there. You have to be really flexible in what you're doing and always be ready to adapt and change at the opportunity, but just don't ever quit. There's a fundamental difference between
Yeah.
how people become unsuccessful and how people actually become successful just because they hang around a lot longer and they don't quit.
Yeah, you speak about people doing what you love, and people might think, but I'm not going to be happy every day doing this, but I do love doing it. That's
God,
obviously
9%, Richard, 9% of the people in this world actually are in a job that they actually love.
mhm,
9%. That means 91% of people tuning in here or listening to this later on or just out there in the general public hate what they do
yeah. You
by
see it every
assumption,
day,
or they just
hear it
don't
every day.
like what they do. They don't like going into that daily grind. Why on earth are you there then? If it's for the money, you could probably pick a better thing to do than that. Because the money you'll get somewhere else, regardless, at some point in time. So just understand that. I think it's due to a lack of confidence as well in a lot of people. They underestimate their abilities and underestimate themselves as well. I actually thought about this morning. I was talking to Ian about it when we were walking around. I said, I'm actually going to be doing a show on how to become successful in life. And I laughed about it and the fact that most people would consider me to be successful, okay,
Mhm.
by what I've achieved. And yet I would never consider myself to be successful at all because it's only just a journey I've taken. And success to me is now come to the point where it's a never ending thing.
Yeah,
It's just you can become successful in some results, or you could win in some results, and you could lose in some results. And overall, if you win more than you lose, then you're probably going to be a success at what you do, and maybe that's how people define it. So let's talk about the things that you want to talk about, how
well,
success is defined.
you've actually just brought me right into the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's really how success is defined. And you talk about obviously goals and milestones and things, and success is often defined as the ability to reach your goals in life. And I mean, whatever your goals might be. I mean, a lot of people have all different goals and aspirations and things, but people define success and your ability to get there. Um,
Yeah,
and sometimes it might be a better word to say maybe your accomplishments or the progress you've made in life. It's not necessarily the destination, though. I think, like you said, Jim, it's the journey um, that helps you develop all those skills and things as you go on that journey to reaching your goals.
yeah.
I think that's a more important part of being the success of your life,
Yeah.
and as the journey. Yeah,
The people that are asking questions on TikTok as well, we'll answer them towards the end. I
yeah,
don't want this to be this is really a training session for most people. Hence the reason why we're putting this down in this format just now for people to actually learn from, and for me to go back as well and learn myself. And Richard, you're learning at the
yeah.
same time. This is the objective of this. It's not to have an interactive session, but we will answer questions at the end. So we will scroll back through all these questions and actually comment on them and give your insight into what it is. Somebody asked me, what have you achieved so far? No much.
But it depends what your goals have been and what you actually set out to do. And it's like, and we're going to talk about, like, goals are obviously self-created. So people set their own goals, like, oh, I'm going to save this amount of money, or I'm going to have this amount of properties in a portfolio, or just whatever it might be. And that could vary between people, depending on what they view as success to reach their success in reaching these goals. So you
Yeah,
could say,
you're right. There's no single right way to this.
no, it's like it depends on what
There's
you.
no right and wrong answer. It's what you define as success in your own life. I mean, the person deems themselves to be successful could be the person that thinks you're successful if you become a millionaire. I'm a success, and it's like, okay, but what price have you paid to get that?
Yeah,
So some other people would look at that and say the price that you paid to get that was far too big. So therefore, in my world, that wouldn't be successful at all. Whereas somebody that has a huge family, they all interact together and they all have a great relationship with each other and all help each other attain
hmm,
and look after each other as well. Might not have that much money at all and that much wealth at all, but to them that's a huge success. To me, that's a
yeah,
huge success as well.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
to me as well.
this isn't. We talk about the wealth creation show, but this isn't about money. Money is just a tool to create the wealth in your life, what that may be, and that's entirely up to an individual to say that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's not a perfect combination, but it's just It's just you marry it all together, and it's what success is to you. It's exactly what you said before. It's quite challenging to actually define it, but it really comes down to the individual. It could be life, it could be love, it could be work, it could be whatever happens to you be most important thing that you at this point in time. Something that you think you're successful at this point in time, and years to come, you might actually look back and say, I wasn't really successful in that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in
Look at some of the politicians. Some of the politicians that deem themselves to be so successful in implementing legislation, for example, might look back on it and think, I actually made a huge mistake. Look at Tony Blair.
Mhm.
Look at Tony Blair putting everybody into the Iraq war. It completely lied.
Yeah.
Now he's gone back and said, well,
maybe we made a mistake there.
maybe I shouldn't have done that. Would he have considered him to be successful at the time? Yes.
Yep.
But would he consider himself to be successful now? Absolutely not. I can guarantee you that.
And that's obviously because he has different views and a different mindset now than what he did then.
Lied.
Well, he lied, yeah.
He lied. And what happened there, and I've been reading the book about it on winning, and what happened there is he got a huge rush of dopamine, and he craved on that addiction to that, and that's what led him in to make that decision and go against what the right decision should have been.
Yeah.
But who knows what would have happened out of that. So how do we start this, Richard? What is the
Well, I mentioned mindset there, and building a growth mindset is one of the things that's quite important and an important key to being successful in anything, and especially in your life in general. People who possess there's fixed mindsets and there's growth mindsets, and fixed mindsets is people believe that things such as intelligence and things are kind of static in their mind and unchangeable. And those with fixed mindsets believe that success is a result of hard work. It's simply a consequence of any talents and things. That's people that have fixed mindset.
I think the only way you're going to grow, the only way you're going to be successful in life is actually if you change what you're doing right now. If you deem yourself not to be successful at this point in life, then that's a combination of everything that you've failed to do, or you've allowed someone else to do for you. That's how you are where you are right now. So, and I have to take the hit for that. When I was in a vulnerable position many years ago, it wasn't all sweets and roses and all the rest of it, and great lives and opportunities open to me. It was because of I'd let other people take decisions for me, and I had just avoided decision completely.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up where I was at that beginning. For most people that don't know, I was homeless and unemployed at one point in time through no fault of my own, but I'd let somebody else to take control of these decisions, and that's why I'd ended up like that.
Ultimately,
do
you feel like that held you back?
Yeah, with no formal education either, so I couldn't really go anywhere else either as well. And I'm a big advocate of people, if they find themselves in that position, look, start learning, start growing your mind, start growing your mindset, start getting into the realms of learning a lot more. One of the things that I really become good at in the growth mindset that you talked about is I'm a student of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I love to know everybody's journey, not for the fact that just this nosiness, excuse the pun, nosy Parker.
But to learn, yeah.
Not that it's to learn from what they've done to lead them to be successful, or learn from what they've done to lead them to be unsuccessful, and to possibly avoid all these mistakes that they've made. I was always told in the very beginning by my mentors, far more successful than me, at that time, 30 years ago, or 35 years ago, actually, that you can either learn by wisdom or you can learn by experience. Well, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, watch. When you're looking at somebody at a track and field, and you're looking at somebody jumping hurdles, okay? Now, experience is when you go to jump the hurdle and trip over it, and then realize you've got to adapt yourself to then do something different next time, and keep doing it until you get it perfected. Wisdom is watching someone else do it and avoiding all these mistakes and actually getting there quicker and knowing exactly what to do. Now, this is the difference. This is what people talk about. Oh, should I go on this course? Should I go on that course? Absolutely. You should go on a course more than likely to learn in your discipline, your field. What you have to do nowadays is weed out the chaff in order the people that are actually just trying to make money out of selling courses, and they're not actually putting any value into what they're doing. They're just telling you something that you could have learned anyway from somewhere else on the internet. That's the key to that. So I would rather learn now from wisdom, which is why I plug into all these Diary of a CEO and watch everything, and learn from other people, even though they're nothing to do with what I'm doing, even though they're not in the field that I'm in. I'm still learning from them in order to grow my mindset and know more knowledge and accumulate more knowledge, because the more you know, the better decisions you'll possibly make, and the more people you'll meet as a result who will help you make better decisions and lift you up on that journey to success, whatever that may be.
Yeah, just what we're doing today as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what the Wealth Creation Show is about. But yeah, the fixed mindset, I think, could really be a hindrance and hold. It definitely can be a hindrance and hold people back. Whereas the growth mindset, people are more open to change and growing and learning and putting in the effort and things as well. And people believe that they're more capable of growth, are more likely to achieve success and things as well. They've got a much more open spectrum to how they look at things.
Here's what happens when you've got a fixed mindset. In other words, you're pre-programmed and you're not going to accept anything different. Is normally you'll find out that when you're watching something, you're learning something, you're going, I know that already. I know that already. I know that already. I know that already. This is boring. Or what happens is when you go to a seminar, your hands are folded, your hands are hidden, by the way, because you're hiding something. Your legs are crossed, and it's not anything to do with comfort. It's the fact that you're closed off. You need to open your mind. You need to take that knowledge and information in, and whether you want to reject it at the end is entirely up to you. But if you really want to grow in your mindset and you really want to be successful at whatever it is, if you're unsuccessful now, then you really need to listen. That's in a nutshell. And people go, no shit, Sherlock. But some people out there are generally, they just want to suffer.
Yeah.
They want to sit in the shade while the sun is just over here. They just don't want to move their chair. They'd rather wallow in the mud with everybody else.
That's one of the things we've got to say there. People with a growth mindset, when things get tough, they look at ways to how to improve their skill and work on it and work towards the success.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you say, Jim, some people will just sit and they don't want to change or do anything that's going to help them. So yeah, rather than you look at it two different ways completely, and
but that brings you into emotional intelligence. That brings you into emotional intelligence, like what you said previously. Yeah. Your emotional intelligence is actually quite important to you. It refers to your ability to understand and utilize and reason with emotions.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that, well, emotional intelligent people are able to understand not only their emotions, but the emotions of others as well. Something I've still got to work on quite a bit.
It's really important. It's an important.
Something I've really got to work on quite a bit.
Some people do it quite naturally and have got really good people skills, and other people need to work on it. And it's just that's the way it is. But I think as long as you identify the fact that right, okay, I need to work on this, like you're just saying, maybe you need to work on it a wee bit sometimes, then I think that's at least a step in the right direction because you're aware of that.
The great thing for me about my emotional intelligence, I know myself so well, and I understand myself so well. So that's probably key here. I know how to manage myself in certain situations, and I know the trigger points for me that I go, wait a minute, you need to slow down. Because there is other people out there like this as well, and I know there is, because there's the Brownlee brothers, for example, at triathlon. They'll run themselves to the ground until they drop on the floor, the ground itself, and physically still get up and try and walk across the line with huge hurt and pain. That's no having an off switch, and that could do some huge damage later on, psychological damage. And so I kind of know myself as well. I don't have that off switch to a degree, and I just keep going and going and going. So there's certain patterns of behaviour that begin to appear in me when I do when I'm working away that I know, whoa, wait a minute, you need to take a step back and actually just go back under that line of, because you're always working up there. You're always hyper. You're always like wired and fired. You're all the way up there. and there's the emotional line here, and you're away batting out hitting out the park every single day up at this level. That's not going to be sustainable. You're going to have burnout when you keep doing that. So you need to bring yourself back down there on an emotional level and stop. This is all about dopamine. This is all about that rush that you get for being up here at that level, above that line of normal sort of peak performance. You're going right above it. It's like your heart rate when you're running. You're running in a zone which is way beyond what you should be running. You're running at like 200 beats a minute, when in actual fact your normal resting pace is like 70. So you're way up at that, huge, putting pressure on your heart all the time and your system all the time. And that's what a lot of people do with their brain. They put so much pressure on themselves that they end up getting to burnout because their brain can't run on dopamine all the time.
No.
And this is what we crave on things like mobile phones and that, and why Facebook's no daft, YouTube's no daft. TikTok's even got even clever down to their algorithm, knows exactly how to get that hit every single time. That's when you become addicted to them. That's what addiction's from. Addiction is driven by dopamine. And that's why people become addicted to it, because that's what everything that you become addicted to, or everything you crave is all about dopamine, and that's how it works.
Because it gives you that good feeling, and you just want it again and again.
That good feeling every single time, and we just want to have that every single time, no matter what it is. Even if it's bad for us, we'll do it. Look at the amount of people that drink alcohol. Now, the beginning of alcohol actually creates that. After you go over a tipping point, it's worse for you. But it does create that, and that's why people drive. Caffeine. Yeah. It gives you that wee tick. Gambling gives you that wee boost. You could be winning. Your sex, that gives you dopamine hit as well. That's a receptor.
Yeah.
Refined sugar, dopamine. It triggers off every single time. Power, the decisions to control something, dopamine. It pushes it all the time. So people gravitate towards all these things are even bad for them. Alcohol, as I said before. Drinking ethanol, which is effectively alcohol, is bad for you regardless. No matter what planet you're on, it's bad for the human body. But we still continue to do it. Well, some of us do. I've stopped it now.
I know, it's crazy when you think about alcohol. When you really think about alcohol and like say nicotine and all the rest of it, and what it actually does to your body, it's
the
crazy.
Overriding factor.
Yeah.
The overriding factor you have is the fact that the desire to have that hit is more important than the damage you'll do to your body. Because everybody goes, it doesn't matter. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. Yeah. I listened last night, and I was listening to a podcast, and they said, the average age for living is 76 years old. And I went, holy shit, I've only got another 20 years left.
That's quite scary.
20 summers left. 20 Christmases left. 20 New Years left. That's a generation of family.
Mm-hmm.
If you've not got kids, grandkids now, or great grandkids now, and you've only got 20 years on average, because that's the average, then you're probably only going to see your next generation at the best. You're not going to see the next after that. So, are you going to continually poison yourself every single day by taking wee sips of alcohol, taking stuff in your processed food, because it's got guar gum, it's got preservatives, it's got all these chemicals added in, and effectively you're just inducing that every single day. This is my desire to live to 150.
Yeah, I know. This is where the juicing and everything comes in. And
yeah, this is why I'm looking at pockets of food now.
And you know, I totally agree with you. And I think, I know, and I totally agree. And I think what you say is completely right. I know you've got it really, you get really meticulous about it, like you do with everything. But that's what you do. But it'll be interesting to see. You might outlive me.
No, I will outlive you. It's all right. I'll say something good at your funeral, Richard.
But yeah, back to emotional intelligence. And you're right, obviously, knowing your own emotions and managing your own emotions. But a lot of people, you'll notice, and a lot of people repress and bottle up their feelings, and that's a really bad thing to do, and that could have a lot of negative repercussions on you and your mental state and things as well, especially when you're trying to be successful and reach goals.
Do you want to know how to solve that?
Yes, Jim.
Have a best pal that you talk to.
Talk to
about that.
Have somebody you can speak to. Yeah.
You know that won't go anywhere else but that one person. For God's sake, don't be. It's not your partner, by the way.
No, I know what you
That's
mean.
not the person to talk to about bottling up and repressing your feelings.
Yeah.
Because they live you day in, day out. They get the brunt of it, and now you're telling them all about how it's happening.
Mhm.
That is too much for them. That's overload. So don't offload it on your partner. It's a best friend. Now, my best friend is obviously Ian, and that's why we walk around on a Monday morning. And we just chew the fat and talk about everything under the sun. It's getting on our nerves and and putting the world to right and all the rest of it. And that is a great release overall. The other one is about listening to others.
If you've
fair
got
enough.
that kind of relationship with somebody, you need to listen. You need it works both ways.
You can do that. It develops. I would say it develops the mental toughness,
Yeah.
and it helps you with the resilience to carry on and continue trying even in the face of obstacles overall. That's some of the things that it help you through this. People who possess this. Oh, actually, I was going to ask you these 10 questions, wasn't I? From last week. We'll keep
Yeah,
that
you
to
are.
next. We'll keep that to
Aye.
next week.
I've got it noted to the side.
Give my heads up beforehand because I've not got it on me now. The
Right,
10
okay.
questions which will determine how successful in life that you're going to be, and what your mental toughness is, and how you will, and if you will keep going in the face of adversity or not. That is the 10 questions. The key 10 questions I'm going to ask, and at some point in time I will say these to people. So I think it's you have that mental toughness and that mental being. I know I'm in control of my whole destiny. Most people believe it, they're not. That's the key. But by really truly believing you're in control of your destiny actually helps you live longer. Did you realize that?
I could see how that is because I mean it does. It gives you that whole sense of control and confidence in yourself that like you're 100% confident that you're going to live to X amount of years because you know I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and that'll get me there. And
Yeah.
and you don't doubt yourself. So
No,
why
don't
would
doubt
you
it
not?
at all.
Why would you not reach it then? So see that I can see how that works.
But do you notice how now I've said that I've actually started to look at packets of food and I was like, wait a minute. No. I'm cooking from fresh. I'm no
Yeah.
having that. It's maybe lentils, green lentils in a
Hmm.
packet, and it's maybe curried and all the rest of it. And it's got great protein content and good fiber content as well. But when you look at the additives in order to keep it to last in a packet, you're effectively consuming poison. I would rather just make it from scratch. So these are the sort of things you've got to be aware of. But being in control of your own destiny and you're confident in your abilities to succeed, and are committed to finishing what they start, that is a real good way to develop mental toughness. Even though you think it's not possible, you should still persevere with it because I think it potentially you could come out the other side. And I think winning is more important than actually the trying thing. It's like,
Right.
I'm not a big fan of the school sports thing now. It's like, oh, everybody gets a medal. It's like, no. It's like there has to be somebody
There
that's
has
first,
to be
second,
somebody
and
that's
third.
better than the other. Yeah.
There has to be because that's what encourages the competitive environment. We can't live in a utopian world where everybody's the same. That just doesn't work because we are human beings and we are sentient beings that think for ourselves. So we're always going to be like this. We're always going to want to aspire. Some people have got to the point where they want to aspire over other people. But the reality is I just want to be better than myself I was yesterday. And I tend to live in this scenario where I live in 10 years from now. So I'm living in the 10 years from now where I want to be, and I'm doing the things now that I should be doing in 10 years' time. And by the time I get to the 10 years' time, I'll have caught up with what I'm doing. So it'll be no foregone conclusion that in 10 years' time, I'll be exactly where I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's how I live because it pulls me forward all the time.
Yeah, using the sports day thing and that as an example, it's like you've probably answered because I was going to say, yeah, I mean, people might be wondering, what do I do? How do I improve my mental toughness and increase my chances of being successful? And I think you've covered a couple of them there, but I mean, let's run through the main things, Jim, that you could do.
Well, great belief in yourself is obviously one of them.
Yeah,
The ability to just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving on,
yeah,
regardless of the odds. Also taking advice, by the way, from somebody if you kind of get past that stage.
Mhm.
Don't give up. Go and speak to somebody that knows what they're doing. Now, I get a message every other day now from people saying, I watched your podcast, I listened to your show, and all the rest of it. Well, I watched your show and listened to your podcast and all the rest of it. And no, can you give me some advice? Just want to pick your brains about something. And I'm quite happy to answer that question in a private, privately. I'm more than happy to do that. A guy came to me this morning and said to me, I've got 12,500. I'm wanting to buy a buy to let, and it's probably 50 grand I'm going to spend. And I'm going, well, you're going to have to think about the ADS. So you're going to have to pay 6% as well. So 12.5 is 25%. So your mortgage is going to be a lot less. You might not even get a mortgage at that level, but even if you did, you're still going to have to pay ADS, and you're still going to have to pay the lawyer's fees. So you're going to have to factor that in. Something at 50 grand is actually probably going to need some work as well.
I was
So
just going to say, you're going to need to do some work there as well.
Maybe far off that. But at least this person is actually seeking out the knowledge they need, whereas they could have just written it off, or they could have just gone into this blindly and thought, I'm going to make an offer on this, and then realised they've got to find another 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 pound extra. And then they're goosed. Then their word is no longer their bond, and their reputation is soiled. No one wants to deal with them because their word isn't their bond anymore. That's one of the most important things for me at that time, is everything I say is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm never, ever going to renege on anything I said. Even though I lose money, I'm doing it. Unless there was a lie in that, incorporated into that from the other party.
Yeah.
But if I said I was doing it, I'm doing it. So I've taken a hit for a few thousand over the year, but I'm a man of my word. My word's my bond. My handshake's with the done deal, and I'm moving forward with it. That's how I am. But that's the losses. But I made a lot more wins as a result of that. And people trust me to move on and do that. And that's what's happening right now with the portfolios I'm buying. Because the guy, even though it's taking a wee bit longer, he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Because he knows I'm going to go ahead with it. My word's my bond. And
he knows you're good for it,
yeah. So, and then looking for growth opportunities, it is plugging into the right things. It is listening to the right people. It is, you might even not know it's the right person you're listening to. The one I'm listening to now in Diary of a CEO is Will I Am. And I'm like, what's Will I Am going to teach me? But I tell you what.
I would probably say there's a lot
I
to learn
know
from it.
resilience in the face of adversity all the time. Depression, he's definitely gone through that at some point in time. Realizing he was poor and then coming to terms with that, but not accepting that and not having that as his crutch, emotional crutch, because a lot of people do that. They'll go like, "Oh, it's just the hand I've been dealt. It's the way it is for me." No bullshit. That's rubbish.
You could change that. Anybody can change that.
You can change that straight away. You can change that in a heartbeat. You just need to make a decision that you're not going to use that emotional crutch as an excuse not to move on, as an excuse to everybody else why it's not worked out for you, why it's not gone as great as it should have been. Don't give me excuses. Just do it. There's people that will make it happen. There's people that will watch it happen. And then there's people that will wonder what the heck happened.
Yeah.
I would rather be the people that make it happen. And that's where I've chosen to be, regardless of the odds. So looking for growth opportunities is a great thing. It could come from anywhere, but you have to be receptive. You have to be open to that. You have to have that mind that says, I'm open to opportunity.
Yeah. And I think and the next thing we're going to talk about, and that kind of incorporating that, is having willpower and really strengthening your willpower in order to be able to be successful in something that you're wanting to do, because there will be challenges along the way, and you need that willpower to keep going, and to not be sidetracked. And I mean, they've done a lot of studies and things they've done studies on children, and identified that people with high intelligence at a young age, and monitored throughout their childhood into adulthood. And researchers found that those ultimately were the ones that were more successful in life. They shared the key characteristics, including prevalence and willpower. So
exactly,
yeah,
the world is full of educated idiots. I've seen people come out of university with a degree and whatever it is, and they're not doing anything. They're unemployed. They can't get a job because they lack the willpower, they lack the discipline, and they lack the drive and determination that really ultimately an employer wants. That's what they're after. The one thing that I want the most out of anybody is the drive and determination and the ability to keep going regardless of the odds. I would employ that person every single day and create a job just for them, because I know that these people will succeed regardless of the odds, because they've got something to prove. That's a burning desire. I've got something to prove to people that I am not that write-off that they thought when I was younger. That sort of thing. That's the people you should be hiring. Fair enough, you can hire for somebody's education, but there's only so far they can get in that education level. Your attitude will determine your altitude in life after that. So you could be the most educated person in the world, but you'll still not get anywhere unless you've got that attitude and determination to move on in these key characteristics that you just described, which is the perseverance and willpower.
Yeah.
These characteristics tend to be part of an individual's overall personality. This is why a lot of people talk to me when I go on holiday, and I'm still working when I'm on holiday, and people are going, how could you still be working when you're on holiday? What's all that about? It's like, when I go on holiday, I just switch off and I go on holiday and I forget about my work completely. And it's like, okay, so look at what your life's like right now and look at where I am right now and see which one you would rather have. I pick mine every day, by the way.
But it's funny when people say that to you, Jim, because you go on holiday, and we call it a holiday. Say you go over to Spain and you do your thing, and you go out running and you do, but then we do our meetings, we still touch base, we run through how things are going here, we do the shows, but it's just worked into your life as part of your life.
Do you think Jeff Bezos and Alan Sugar and Richard Branson, do you honestly think they go away on holiday and they just switch off?
Completely switch off. No.
They don't. But they're not really switching. They're not doing anything different than they've done normally day to day anyway. They've learned to incorporate this into their lifestyle, and it's just part of what they do and who they are. It's them. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it defines them. It's just part of them. So I wouldn't say to people that what I do defines me. I would just say it's what I do to achieve where I want to be, to get to wherever it is it's going to arrive to. I've got a true belief that there'll be something more on the horizon for me, even though I don't know what that is and when it will happen. But I have a deep down belief and desire and drive that will be the case, and that might lead to me to being able to help other people to get to the aspirations and the level that they want to do. Hence the reason why we're probably doing this. It's purely for that reason. Why else would we be doing it? We're not making any money out of this. So why would we want to do? We're now on 83 episodes of the Wealth Creation Show. We're now on 155 episodes of the Saturday morning show. We're now on, an weekly update on a Sunday night of the Fife property market. We're now on, God knows, 150, 200 episodes of that. So why are we doing that? Because I've got a deep down desire and a belief that I think that other people will benefit from what we do. That's the only reason I do it. I could happily sit on the beach for the rest of my life and just drink pina coladas and never bother about anybody ever again. But I think I'm here for something more. Not for me. Not for me. Let me understand that. I'm here for something more, but it's not for me.
You feel like there's a purpose to you.
There's something about this that I believe I'm here to serve other people. And by serving other people, I will be prosperous and rich as a result. And I don't mean rich in money.
Rich in life.
Rich in life.
Yeah, definitely. And that was kind of what we covered last week as well. The secrets to living a rich life. So
let's talk about delayed gratification characteristics as well. Delayed gratification is a big one I've used all the years. Learning to persist in the face of challenges and waiting for the rewards, your hard work. See this about, keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this. I have no idea when this rewards or whatever these rewards will ever be, if they'll ever come. But it really doesn't matter. I'm enjoying the journey. I enjoy the journey. And you're probably enjoying the journey as well and learning at the same time. So these strategies you can use to improve your willpower will include things like, distraction. Distracting yourself from yourself during the moments of weakness can be a great strategy. When you're just on the teetering on the brink, I quit. It's like, go and do something else. Go for a cycle or a run or something like that. Just do something different. Clear your head. Stop getting into the negative route. This is what happens. deep down in this hole, and we dig this hole and dig this hole and dig this hole and keep digging, and at some point in time, you're going to have to get a ladder to get out of here, or you're going to have to get somebody to give you a hand up,
Yeah.
get a hand out.
Do you know, a lot
So
of people will say, a lot of people will probably be like, but I don't have willpower. I've not got willpower. I mean,
yeah,
but is it something that people can you achieve willpower? Can you do it yourself?
of course it is. Do you think when I was a young laddie at school I had willpower? Did I? Hell, I wanted to get away with the easiest scythe possible. Water will find a way. You know, if you watch water, it goes and finds the easiest access to get out and its route. It just flows naturally anywhere. If you're like water and you find the easiest way, that's an easy gig. You know, that's really what we be. And we get in the way of being so complicated in terms of what we're
Yeah.
doing. This obsession about we have to be someone, we have to be defined as someone. You know, this sort of thing. I am an accountant. Well, no, I do accountancy, and I'm really good at doing accountancy. But I'm not. That's not my. That's not what defines me. It's a lot greater than that. It's the drive and determination and the higher purpose. It probably defines me where I want to be and what I want to do. But I don't know what that is yet. But I've got full belief. So willpower is something you can definitely build, but it takes time and effort.
Yeah.
And start by making these small steps and small goals that require the power to achieve. Maybe a classic example for people that just want a diet is, you know, it's not a diet, a
It's
healthy eating
not
plan,
a,
by
yeah,
the way.
a healthy eating
It's
plan. Yeah.
diet. So you want to die then.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to die. But you want to have a healthy eating plan. So it's cut out sugary snacks. Just cut them out.
That's a good thing because a lot of people do want to obviously lose weight and feel better about themselves, and they try and just stop cold turkey and stop eating everything. And it's like you try to be vegan. It took you what 4 years in total, I think, to
Oh,
get there.
now you've told everybody I'm vegan.
Well, I think everybody knows now anyway.
You'll have the vegan people on TikTok. Yeah, I eat meat and I love meat. It's like,
But
yeah.
how long did it take you to stop like cheese? There was things like cheese and chocolate and things like that. So you couldn't just you can't just
7 years it took
So
to
that was
become
the 7 years,
vegan.
right? Okay.
There's no way I would advocate anybody just switch to vegan overnight.
No,
That's
and it's
not
the
going to
same with
happen.
anything. If you're trying to lose weight and things,
Unsustainable.
do
I
a
was 4
do a
years
healthy eating plan.
I was a vegetarian for 4 years. Vegetarian for 4 years. And then eventually, after the 4 years, I started to cut out things like milk. I started to cut out things like butter. I started to cut out things like eventually it was eggs and cheese that came last. But it was a transition. So 4 years and then 3 years so far as a vegan. I changed exactly the day I went to Glastonbury in 2019. When I went to Glastonbury Festival in 2019, that's when I became a full vegan. That was that time, and I've never looked back since, because I took 4 years to transition up to that.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
where
a
I
journey.
got the 4 years fix. I remember you told me that. Yeah,
It's a journey. It's not a destination.
Yeah.
So, but I built the willpower. I built the mental muscle to be able to do that. But I changed my habits over that time. I tricked myself into it, but I made sure I had the right nutrition in order to replace what I had. Because there's a big thing about, oh, you don't get enough protein. Well, my protein content yesterday was 70 grams. The average person gets 55.
yeah.
So I'm getting it all from plants as well.
I
So
was
I
just
don't
going to
get
say,
any
where do you getting? Is
toxins.
that for like beans and?
Yeah, I'm not getting any toxins or anything. Oh, it's baked beans and stuff like that. So baked beans, it's lentils, it's
Edamame beans, I think, is a good one.
yeah, it's things like that. So, but that's another story. So it's the willpower to achieve
Yeah.
things. And
Let's
it's
talk about
feedback.
let's talk about focusing on intrinsic motivations. And I suppose my question to you, Jim, is what is it that motivates you the most?
My kids.
Yeah,
Every
and I knew
single
you were
time.
going. I knew that. I just obviously, and
Yeah,
it's funny
every single
because
time.
if you were to ask me the same question, I don't have children because obviously if I did, they would be right up there at the top. But I
Yep.
think it's probably just the motivator is probably like security, like security financially. Probably later in life is probably my main thing. But like I
Yes.
said, if I had children, it would be up the top there.
Now, why is that? That's probably because you've spent a lot of time around me and talking
Probably.
about this. Because you would never have
Yeah.
thought about that. You would have thought, full caution to the wind, spend everything today.
I'll worry
That's
about
it.
it when I'm older, like a
Yeah.
lot of people do.
I'll worry about it when I get there. By the time you've got there, you're too late.
Aye, in your skin.
And that's the issue here. So what motivates the most is the children and the next generations. Now,
Yeah.
I'm saying to my kids, was it not about time you had kids? It's like, what about the next generation? My sister actually did a thesis on this for her studies. She's very intelligent, and she did a paper on it about the desire the human beings for procreation and the driving force behind that. And all human beings is the main desire of you. We are here to procreate. That's it in a nutshell, according to my sister's thesis. And she's probably right. We are probably
Yeah,
here
I mean,
to do
that
that.
is ultimately, I think, really the reason that
Effectively,
we're here.
we never appeared on the planet as a caveman and said, "I want to go on a fun fair, and I want
Yeah.
candy floss, and I
Yeah.
want a car, and I want a house." These are all the things in order to replace the things that we're lacking.
Mhm.
That's controversial, isn't it?
Mhm.
These are all things designed to replace what's lacking in our lives. The cars, the holidays, everything else like that. That's all designed to do that. Our deep down caveman thing is like procreation. It's
Yeah.
to have a family. It's to have someone to carry on that, and that's hardwired into us in our DNA,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not. So intrinsic motivators for me are definitely my family. It drives me forward. Now, but it's community as well. It's a big thing. Again, I come back to saying, I think my purpose on life is actually to serve other people and to give them the wealth, experience, and knowledge. The one thing I can't stand, and I notice a lot of people are actually bringing it up now, and it's coming up in conversation, is the fact that the amount of people that actually pass on, but actually never passed any of the knowledge on at all. The
Yeah.
amount of people that
And it
die,
dies with them. Yeah.
and all that knowledge dies with them. Nothing gets passed on. All that information. I once knew a guy that was intelligent, and he actually used to tap the phones for people in the war. He actually used to,
Right.
Secret Service sort of thing,
Yeah.
up the really honestly up the lampposts, tapping the phone line. And George never told any about this until about when he was like 75 years old. And he was like, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fascinated by this story.
Yeah.
You, mild-mannered George, were an intelligence officer in the army, bugging people's phone lines. You're having a laugh. And literally, that's where he was. That's what his job was. And it's like, my God, I would never in a million years
Be
thought
amazing
that.
to know what he knows or what he heard.
Yeah. So these are the things that it's the desire now. It's come to the desire also for the acquisition of knowledge.
Yeah.
And being the student every single time and learning from other people and understanding where their success came, where their failures came from as well. So these are the intrinsic motivators that move me on. It's the staying curious every single time, looking for the things that grab my attention. It's also taking control. It can be actually difficult to stay intrinsically motivated and pursue your goals, but if you don't feel that you've got the real influence over your outcome, that's when it becomes difficult. So look for ways you can actually take an active role and actually take charge of that.
Mhm.
A lot of people actually don't want to go forward with something that is good for them because they don't feel they've got control. That's a
They've
big
not got
thing.
that. They've not got that confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, the control.
Because with control
Control is
comes
a big,
confidence, and the lack of
control
control.
is
I
a-
mean, yeah.
lack of control is a big thing. This is why I believe it. For example, this is only my belief. This is why I believe that people become anorexic and people start self-harming
Mhm.
because it's a mechanism to feel that they're in control. That's what it does. It makes them feel they're in control, even though they're hurting themselves. And a lot of people out there won't understand that. But if you've been in that mindset, I have been in that mindset, by the way, at some point in time. It's weird.
Mhm.
But if you've been in that mindset and understand that, it's like you'll do anything to feel in control, even to the point where it's abusive towards yourself. And this is why people stay in these sort of, they pursue these sort of things. So stay away from that if you can. Try and take control in other areas of your life in order to do that. Don't fear competition. Don't feel competitive environments. Let people go about their own business.
Mhm.
This is another thing as well. Is the one thing I learned in the beginning. I'm always competing against somebody else. I've always got to be better than someone else. And then eventually I went, whoa, wait a minute, whoa. I shouldn't be playing what their game is. I'm playing my game for me.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be focusing on what they're doing. I should be
Yeah.
focusing on being the best I can be and deliver that, and I'll have an audience which will actually be with me as a result. Hence the reason why there's a certain amount of people that just come back to me every single time to sell property, and to you to let property as well. But there's other people who just go to other people, and it's like, hey, fair enough, that's all right with me. I only need 200 to 300 people in the whole of Fife out of 6,500 property transactions every single year to survive and make money and feel good about myself and help people on their journey.
That was an important lesson you taught me as well. Don't look at others and compare yourself and think, "Oh, I need to be doing this." Just do your own. Do you, and keep going.
That's where a lot of people fall down, because they watch a lot of Instagram and TikToks
and feel like that's what they need to be doing, and that's what they need to, and don't think for themselves.
World. I tell you what, for people, and I put it up the other day, and everybody had a good laugh at it. People that are famous on Instagram, it's like being a millionaire at Monopoly. You know, that's it. They've not got anything. They've not really got anything. This is just smoke and mirrors. They go down to a garage, they take something out for the day, or they get their pal's car and they show it off, and they're in it, but they don't actually tell you the truth about what's happening here. But you make assumptions it's theirs, and the impression is, I need to learn from that person because they've got lots and lots of things that I want. Don't fall for that. That's the snake oil salesman or woman. Let's be politically correct here. Both. I would say more snake oil salesmen though. There's a lot more out there. Maybe it's an ethical thing. So
definitely. So
probably brings you up the next one about setting achievable goals then.
Yeah, I think, like you say, whatever you're doing, obviously have your own goals and work towards them, but make sure they're achievable goals. Successful people know that they need to start by having attainable goals that they're able to achieve, and these goals are not always necessarily easy to reach. But by having something to aim for, you will better be able to move forward and overcome obstacles and things. But just always make sure that these are achievable goals. So, what kind of things, when we're setting goals, Jim, what can we do to make them more achievable?
Easy goal for me, as I started off and said, I'll read a book 20 minutes a day.
Right.
I'll read a book for 20 minutes a day. That's all I started off with. But I'll read a book that's completely relevant to what I want to what I want to achieve, whether it's in positive mental attitude. I had mentors that actually gave me the right books, so I was quite lucky. Magic of Thinking Big was a really good one. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill was a fantastic one. I've read that about 50 times. That's an amazing book, and I still keep reading it. I still get more in it because your mind opens up a lot more and you learn more things. Therefore, when you go back to it, it's kind of you start to see it a different perspective. That's a good one. So if you just do these wee baby steps in the beginning to get you into habit and getting these habits of we'll call habit stacking. That's James Clear, 7 Secrets of Happiness or Habit Stacking or whatever it is. If you get into habit stacking, in other words, for example, well, look at a habit when you get up. Your routine, probably. You get out of your bed, you go to the toilet, you brush your teeth, you go in the bath or the shower, you shave after that, you have your breakfast, you have your coffee, you're off to work. And I bet you everybody does that sort of routine religiously.
I've done all of that. I've done all of that this morning. Yeah.
Try brushing your teeth with your left hand for a change. See how awkward it feels. But you should do it. You should start to break some habits and form new habits which are more beneficial for you. So that's what to do, and then reward yourself and recognize you're successful on the way and allow yourself to enjoy these accomplishments. Nurture traits linked to high potential. This is a real key one. According to most research, there's certain traits that tend to be consistently tied to success. Research have identified 6 key traits. These 6 key traits that can play a role in people and how they work. However, they know that there are optimal levels of these traits. So too little characteristics can hinder success. So can having too much.
So you need to find that balance.
Right. If you're trying to learn how to be successful in life, consider whether they nurture these key traits. Consciousness. It's a really good one. That's being aware of your current situation, where you are right now, and actually being honest with yourself and what you need to do to move forward. Accepting of ambiguity. Life is full of situations, where it's not clear for you. Yeah, just accept it as, it'll be ambiguous sometimes now and again. Challenge your perspectives. Consider, I talked about it again to Ian this morning. You know, I like people that actually say to me, "I was sure we should do it like that for a specific reason, not
Yeah.
just for the sake of saying it, but we sure we should do it like that." Richard Branson talks about that all the time. It's like he wants somebody to question him. He wants somebody to question what he's doing. He maybe don't listen to them. Screw it, let's do it. That's what he does. But he
At least,
wants to know their perspective. Not fearing unfamiliar is a really good one. Being willing to change. You've got to be willing to change. If you're not willing to change, it's never going to change for you.
Yeah.
You can go on every course you want. You can read every book you want as well. But if you're not going to learn any of the knowledge and you're not going to implement any of it, you're never going to get anywhere. So if you're not willing to change, switch this off. Go and do something else.
A
There's
big
no
red flag if you've ever heard yourself saying, "Oh, I don't like change," or you ever hear somebody saying, "I don't like change," then
Yeah,
that's a big one. Yeah.
it's like you better change it quick. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
let yourself catch. But then you get into the same group of people that actually say "Oh yeah, that's right. We don't like change. Yep, okay, we don't like change." This is the whole thing about people pulling you down, and that's what you've got to. That's what you've got to be wary of. You've got to be wary of the people around about you in terms of where you are and where you want to go, and you've got to not let them pull you down. That's a real difficult thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to watch for that.
Yeah. I think as well, being courageous as well. I mean, some of the most successful people in the world have had great courage, and they are willing to take risks, even in the face of potential failure. Do you know what I mean? It's like they maybe have that fear, but they still do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So I think being courageous is quite important, and curiosity and questioning things. And people who are successful tend to be curious. You mean, Jim? You question everything and like to know how everything
I
works.
used to annoy people in the college. I used to annoy all the students. The students used to really get wound up by me every single time. So I used to go, "Wait a minute, could you walk me through that step again in accountancy?" So I could get a word for word verbatim about accountancy, how things work, because my mind works in very logical ways in terms of almost I see something and I'm able to replicate it in my mind when I can see the writing, and therefore I'm able to repeat it back. That's how I learn in terms of what I'm doing. So a lot of people used to get, "Oh God, he's no asking again another question." But at the end of the year, I ended up teaching all them. They all used to come to me and say, "What did I do here, Jim?" Because it's like I'd learned all that.
Because you've
This is the
learned all that.
classic example. Let me tell you a wee story here. Right, a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers will not make you a fun of you when you upload your first video. They won't. A black belt in karate is you're not going to make fun of you for struggling as a white belt because they've been there.
Yeah.
A millionaire won't make fun of you for trying out your business for the first time. Definitely not. It's only the people that are scared to try and do what you're doing that will make fun of people that are average trying to do something that they're not doing because they want you to be average just like them. They want you to be just like them. No, come back to the average camp. It's like, piss off.
Yeah.
It's like, get away from me, you averagers. It's like, no,
The averagers. No, that's true though. I mean, that's a
get
good
away
point.
from you negheads. It's like, I didn't want your negative. You can be my pal and all the rest of it, but I just don't want your negative. I'm wanting to be somewhere else. I'm wanting to be better for my family, for my community. I'm not going to let you drag me back down into that bucket where we are right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the next one I was going to say was competitiveness, and that's a really good driver and motivator, and avoid falling prey to people with jealousy and people that want to, and that will ultimately hold you back. So avoid that, and
Yeah,
then
I'm quite fortunate now. I used to have that in the early days quite a lot. I used to have, people that were really jealous and they used to try everything possible to derail me in terms of what my objectives are, what I was trying to achieve, where I was wanting to go. And because they just wanted me to be just like them. Because I started off in the same street as them. So we were all in the same street together, probably one of the most challenged streets at that time in the whole of the area. We all started off in there in that street, and I moved out to 4 times the size of the house in terms of what was in the street. And they were like, "How the hell did that happen?" And then Elaine retired, And it's like, how could you sustain all that wealth and be able to do that? And it's like, well, when you were getting pissed out the back garden
You
and
were
your
working.
barbecue,
Yeah, you
and
were
I
working
was
hard.
walking back and forward with my bucket and my cleaning materials and my ladders and that and my steps, when you were all laughing at me working on a Sunday and a Saturday and at night time when you were all having a great time and a jolly, that's exactly how I accumulated all that wealth. I was spending all my time investing in my future while you were spending all your time pissing it up against the wall.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the only way I could say it, really.
I was laughing earlier because I thought people that aren't from Scotland that listen to a few things that you were saying earlier, I thought they'll find quite funny. But anyway, but yeah, it's really important to be happy for other people when they succeed, and even on their journey to success. I think that's a really important point as well.
I think that's key for me. If you're on the right track and you know you're on the right track, you seeing someone else successful and celebrating their success with them, I
Mhm.
think that's key. That's a key indicator that you are comfortable within yourself and you have a personality trait which could possibly guarantee your success as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing. If you watch a game show and you're rooting for the guy at the end,
Yeah.
and it's like, or the girl at the end, and it's like, I'm sometimes almost in tears more than they are in terms of what they've.
Yeah.
I kind of
Bonding.
believe it. The Michael McIntyre, the wheel is like, it's like just blows you away sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, Undercover Boss is a classic example. I love that show. I just
Yeah.
love watching that and the fact that they go in and they do all that, and these people at the end is like they've got nothing. It's like,
Yeah.
here's your new car, here's your new house, here's your upgrading your job, here's this. You deserve this. You work for this. I
Mhm.
don't think you realize how valuable you are and what your worth really is. And that just changes their life for the better.
Mhm.
And some people actually move on and they do something else. That's fine. But that's the sort of thing that floats my boat.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That's what I love seeing. That's what I love doing.
Yeah. It's definitely really an important element to have. Especially in your own journey for success, to be happy for other people's success. It's
Yeah,
just for me, definitely. So let's talk about cultivating strong social support and things, Jim, as well. Just before as
that's a
we,
good driver. Yeah.
yeah, because doing things alone can be difficult. And you need. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff on your own in the beginning, but you now have a big team around you, which you've built. And
Jeez. A lone wolf, I would describe myself as.
yeah,
Lone wolves don't work with other people. They just constantly work in their own world and they just keep building and building and building.
hmm
Lone wolves have to learn to work with other people and tolerate other people because that's what lone wolves have to do,
yeah,
tolerate other people, because they're a lone wolf for a reason. So you have to recognize that. You get a few lone wolves in jobs, high power positions. They work well, but they're not good for the team
yeah.
for that reason. So I have to learn to work as a team, and sometimes I have to learn just to keep away from the team.
hmm
And you'll know why that is.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
although
like,
because
Jim,
you need,
don't,
yeah,
don't, whatever you say, Jim, don't go near the team. Just leave them alone. Let them do their job. Just shut up. That's what I tell myself sometimes.
yeah, yeah. And that's as long as you identify that, because you know that lone wolves and things will know that, like yourself, you've built a team, and you know you need your team. But sometimes you do. There's days and you think, right, I'll just get on with my own stuff and keep myself to myself. And
That's why
that's
I
fine.
take a Monday and I work on things like this, and I
Yeah.
and I do all my other business interests as well.
Mhm.
I've now gone back to that Monday and taking
And
that and
keeping your
thought that's
creative and
that's the
thinking
day.
time.
Yeah, I need to do that. I
Yeah.
need to do that. I can't merge all my businesses into one. It's difficult because when you're out in the thick of it and you're needing to be mainstream all the time as an estate agent, and you're advising people, and we're talking about millions of pounds of property.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is like start to mix it. I've found separating my other business interests from this is actually more beneficial.
Yeah.
After all, this is what creates my living, and my lifestyle is created by the wealth by the wealth I build.
Yeah. And you say you have like thinking time and time that like you and Ian go for a walk and like you say talk about things and thrash things out, and that's like emotional support, and that can provide like comfort and security and empathy and the ability to discuss things and the way you maybe need to approach new challenges or face things. That's
Yeah,
what that time's quite good for as well.
It's good for your esteem as well, definitely. And things, information support, mentorship, advice, other necessary resources. There's lots of groups.
Yeah.
Talk about investment. There's loads of groups in Scotland, private groups that people conflab with each other. I have to encourage them to sometimes comment outside of the private group, because we're trying to make political points here, and talking about it in your group isn't worth it. It's like we need to let the politicians see what's going on and what's going wrong. I mean, when the chief executives, turn around and say, the Cost of Living Tenant Protection Act isn't working, the chief executives of the local authority actually say that, what does that tell you about the incoherent housing policy for the Scottish Government? That's one of the things. So that's how having your information support, your mentorship and your advice is necessary, because it keeps you on track and it keeps you sane, I would say. Tangible support, practical and active ways as well, might help you support any tasks you want to do and tasks you want to take care of. Mentors, friends, co-workers, family members can all cheer you on when things when things are getting tough. So mind pick the right people, though. Not the people that will say, "I told you so." Keep away from these
That's
people.
no support.
Yeah, keep away from these people. That is not support at all. These are people you need to run and avoid at all costs. No matter if it's your mum or your dad or your sister or your brother, you run for the hills away from these people as quick as possible. They are not on your side. They're ready to pull you down. So, advice and assistance that you can improve on your chances for success. Probably the most finite one for me, and the last one is burnout.
Yeah, that's a real thing, and it could happen to anybody, no matter what you're doing.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and I mean, how serious can burnout could have a severe effect on people. Some people can't bring themselves back from it. Do you know, you can burn yourself right out with stress and a multitude of things, and it could have a really detrimental effect on you and ultimately your success.
I think some people don't know how to come back from it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know the path because they don't have the right support network round about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the issue is. So everybody can come back from burnout. I can guarantee you that. This is the wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. The great thing about tomorrow when you've got burnout is tomorrow never comes. So you're always living in hope that it's going to change for you, but then you have to change within yourself in order to do that. And it's a classic example. I often tell people, it's like, when you're hoovering, if you're really in a bad way and you're clinically depressed, no just general depression. There's general depression. Oh, I feel depressed, and 2 weeks later you go, oh, I'm on cloud nine, I'm okay now. But there's clinical depression. This is a medical thing. This is chronic. This is embedded into you. This means that your dopamine production is nowhere to exist. Your serotonin is nowhere to exist either. It's completely depleted, and every single time you get up in the morning, there's nothing to keep you going. That's chronic. So you get things like inhibitors, which actually slow down the depletion of serotonin, which is the happy drug that you need every single day. It's a fuel that you have to get every single day, performed by your gut and your diet. And that's why it depletes, because you don't sleep properly and you don't eat properly. Therefore, you don't get it. And that's why it disappears pretty quick. So this is why serotonin inhibitors are actually produced, and it's things like citalopram, all the different things with prams on the end, or their medication,
With prams on the end.
diazepam, or whatever it is. These are the things that slow that down. And a lot of people are like quick to judge, and they're going, "Oh, you shouldn't be taking them." And it's like, no. These are not they're not happy pills. These are to stop the depletion of serotonin. They're for that reason. So it's about educating yourself to that degree. And if you're halfway around the house and you're hoovering the house and you think, I just can't be bored anymore, put the hoover in the corner and stop. Go and sit down. It's all right to do that. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just do it the rest of it tomorrow if you want, or when you can have the time, or when you've got the motivation to do it. You need to come back from burnout, and that's the ways to do it. It's just, you need to completely relax. You need to switch off. You just need to walk away from what you're doing right now, and you just need time. And people that need to understand that that's the way forward for someone. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, just keep going, you'll get through it. It's like, no, you won't.
No.
It's like you're not getting through it at all. It's not, you can't take, because that's what led to the burnout in the first place.
Yeah, I think if somebody's really experiencing burnout and they're in that position, then obviously there's self-care strategies and things that you can do, and we've covered them quite often. And right up there
Yeah.
is sleep, getting enough sleep, eating healthily, and things like that. They're all things that will ultimately make you feel better. But I think when people are really experiencing burnout and, like you say, chronically feeling like depressed and maybe stressed, you really need to get to the bottom of the issue that's actually causing that problem. If you're
Yeah.
at that stage, and that's the most important thing I think as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's reassessing your goals. It's like, is this really this important right now? It's going to
Yeah,
take your life. It's really going to, you're not going to be here anymore if you keep going on like this. You know, I've been there. You're not going to be here tomorrow if you don't stop doing what
yeah.
you're doing. It's going to kill you. So you're not going to be able to do what you're doing anyway because you're going to be dead.
Hmm.
But when you're in that mindset, it's like, oh my God, you're just like, oh, well, that'll be fine then. Because it's like the pain will go away. That's how people feel. That's how these people feel. That'll be fine because I'll get rid of the pain. I just want rid of the pain. So that's what burnout causes. That's what happens to you. You just get into this chronic position. And it's sometimes you've got no way out. And the only way out is to actually just end it all. And that's what happens to these people. So you really got to get the help. So go to the doctor, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Don't sit and think, oh my God, I'm not going to take these chemicals. I'm not going to take these drugs because they're not going to be. Everybody says that you should stay away from them because Auntie Jeannie had them and she went doolally. It's like, no, Auntie Jeannie had different problems. Know your
Yeah.
problems, and your doctor will be able to advise you the best things. So that's the thing you need to do. If your goals are creating too much stress, then just bring it right back. Bring it back to the basics and just start doing some of the little things. You know why I say that is because everybody's going to go through it at some point in their life. I'll guarantee you that. And if you just do that wee bit extra that no one else is doing, then you're immediately going to get something that they're not getting, are you?
Yeah.
So when you've got, even when you're feeling like that, if you just pick up the phone or you just, whatever it is you need to do. There was often I had, Ian at the door. You actually coming out? It's like,
Hmm.
no, I'm not going to. It's like, I'm just going to stay in the house. That sort of thing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another story to discuss at some point in time in the future. But ways to reduce your stress, whether it's involves shifting your goals, changing your plans, or even doing something more significant like moving somewhere else, or even changing your job.
Yeah.
But changing the jobs might not do it, and moving somewhere else might not do it because you've got to understand what's causing it in the
I
first
was just
place.
going to say, you have to
Yeah.
identify, is it actually the job that's the problem? Do you know,
I
that's, yeah.
Yeah, loads of times where people say, "I'm going to change my job," and it's like, okay, you realise that's
That
going
would just be a
to follow
short-term
you.
fix to something, yeah.
You realise that's just going to follow you for where you're going. It's like it won't change. If you change your job, it'll be more stressful because the most stressful things in life are having a baby, changing jobs, getting married,
And moving house.
and moving house, and getting divorced now.
Oh, yeah.
These are the things that are actually most stressful in life.
Hmm.
So some people go ahead and do all five, honestly, thinking
Yeah.
that that's going to solve their problems because and it's like, oh my God, you're just creating more stress for yourself. That is not the way to lead a happy and successful life. It's to actually go down the right route of reading the right information, getting advice from the right professionals in order to help you recover, recuperate, take a step back, and then go again
And
when
then
you're
go
ready.
again, yeah.
That's it. That's the person that will lead a happy and successful life, a content and successful life, regardless of the odds. Even though you've been there, it doesn't write off the fact that you can be a success. I mean, I've known loads of people that have actually gone through burnout and destroyed it. Well, I am the classic example. I'm listening to now.
Mhm.
It's like I just didn't want to do anything. I just don't want, depressed and all the rest of it. Really bad. And he's like, I've had enough, and it's like I can't do it anymore. And therefore, look where he is now.
Yeah.
And now he looks back at the education, and this is actually quite interesting. Now he looks back at what he's learned so far, and he says he wish he had children 10 years ago
Yeah, rather than waiting.
because the sacrifices that he made for that. He thought he had to make these sacrifices. He
Mhm.
thought he had to do that to be successful. And it's like, and I'm like, who taught you that? And he's like, I think it was his father. His father gave him that impression. His environment he was in. So you've got to watch for the environment that you're in and what that's actually teaching you. And is that the right answer for you? And possibly for most people, the answer is no. Because I come back to saying that 91% of people are in jobs that they hate. So what do you think the 91% of people are going to teach the people that they're actually with, their kids? They're going to teach them to stick at a job they hate. I just stick it out. Like I stuck it out. I turned out okay. It's like, oh, it's like I've turned out okay. That's like with a. It's like it's been all right for me. drinking the pint. It's like that's the sort of thing that you've got to watch and where you take your advice from.
Yeah,
I think that's the most important thing to live a successful life. There's no definition for it. It really comes down to how you define success for yourself and how you go.
definitely. I think we covered that at the beginning, that success for everybody is going to be different, and what their perception of successful is, depending on your individual circumstances. But I think my takeaway from today would probably be that I think in order to be successful in life, no matter who you are, in order to get there, your mind and your body are the most important things, because you yourself is the driver to your own success. So they're the things you need to look after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's us. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And until next time, bye-bye.
Right, that's good. Right, thank you.